You may love those fresh, juicy green grapes, but you can never guess what really goes into it. Well, we're here to show how those fresh grapes and delicious wine come into play, and no, it's not as disgusting as you've thought. All that weed control, fertilizers, and much more care comes along if we want to enjoy the best fruit of our lives. Indeed, it's a much more emotional time for farmers because now they know if their efforts were fruitful or gone wasted. Of course, they're not wasting those grapes. It's a special procedure called thinning. Thinning might sound like an odd thing to do. Why would farmers remove some grapes after working so hard to grow them? By cutting away some of the grape clusters, the potential grapes end up being bigger, juicier, and packed with more flavor. If a vine is left to grow too many grapes, it spreads its energy thin that produces small grapes with less sugar. Look at these beautiful rows and rows of red grapes, ripen under the sun, waiting for the perfect moment to get collected. Red grapes are packed with flavor, antioxidants, and a deep color that makes them perfect for everything from juice to wine. The machine moves through the rows of vines, so it can work both ways. Instead of cutting the grapes off, the machine gently shakes the vines. This shaking is just enough to loosen the ripe grapes from their stems. Sometimes it's hard to express how grateful we are for the love you're showing us. Please stay with us till the end of the video to discover the amazing strategies used in food factories. As soon as they've arrived, those tons of grapes roll through a bunch of hands, so only good grapes make it till the end. These advanced machines are gently taking the grapes towards their thorough bath so they get cleaned up after their journey from the vineyard. Soaking them for a bit enhances their juiciness while making it easier to lose the dirt along the way. And that dirt is taken to the off-bounds or outside of the factory to keep it all clean. Now these grapes are fed into a machine called Grapes Crusher, which gently breaks open the grapes, releasing the juice from inside. Their working isn't the biggest mystery after all, just like how a regular crusher works, but their technique of winemaking is super interesting. What they're doing right now is basically turning the material upside down. This juice is repeatedly turned upside down to make everything soaked in itself properly, for better flavor. And they do this procedure like 3 times a day. The juice doesn't just flow directly into bottles. Instead, it's sent to the press where the must is squeezed to separate the juice from the solid parts, like the skins and seeds. It goes through screening, filtering, and all those necessary techniques to make it residue-free. And it's still grape juice, not wine, yet. Look at that wastage being repurposed for literally many global needs. While on the other hand, we have that clear grape juice ready to be transformed into delicious wine. Recent research says we typically consume over 70 million metric tons of grapes every year in various forms. The numbers are surprising. Here the game begins, and these oak drums play an important role in fermenting the grape wine to the bestest limit. During fermentation, natural sugars in the grapes are converted into alcohol by yeast that produces carbon dioxide as a byproduct. Even in regular winemaking or juice production, the release of carbon dioxide helps stir and mix the liquid. And that fermentation process that looked so simple was actually the matter of months. As soon as the batch passes all the quality test protocols, it is sent to fill in the hoppers for easy bottling. And wait for that surprisingly clean and spill-free filling. Once the bottles are filled, sealed, and labeled, they're packed into boxes. Keep calm, they're coming to you soon. I get where you're coming from. Factory food production can seem a little unappetizing when broken down step by step. But when it comes to pasta and its sauce, things aren't as bad as you might think. Well, to get all those answers, we have stepped into their farms where they grow the majority of their tomatoes. Before even a single tomato reaches the factory, there's a harvesting race happening out in the fields. It's basically a giant mechanical buddy rolling through rows of tomato plants, shaking the vines so fast that only the ripest tomatoes fall off. These harvesters use vibration technology. They shake the plants just enough to loosen ripe tomatoes while leaving unripe ones behind. Yeah, dude, coming to that delicious sauce making, and even the factory-made sauce will look this much delicious. There's one rule every sauce factory follows. The fresher the tomato, the better the sauce. So they clean the fresh tomatoes and chop them right away to get the puree. Now what's more important in that red sauce is garlic. And instead of using all automated systems, workers fry the peeled and chopped garlic cloves manually. They simply grab long-handled metal spatulas, stirring the garlic to keep it from sticking or burning. They need to keep it balanced, and it's a skill that takes practice. Do you love that sizzling sound of garlic? And don't even start about its aroma. Now comes the real test. Seasoning. Workers reach for pre-measured trays of salt, sugar, and other spices for flavor. Layer by layer, the machines stop stirring when it's ready. But before it goes anywhere, it needs to be sealed up perfectly. And that's where the bottling process begins. But this factory does something different. Every single jar gets a fresh basil leaf at the bottom. The heat from the sauce activates the oils in the basil, slowly infusing the entire jar with an extra layer of freshness. It's a small touch, but it makes a huge difference in taste. Regular all-purpose flour wouldn't work here. It would make the pasta too soft and mushy after cooking, so they take out the durum wheat. First, the wheat goes through a series of sifters and air blowers that remove any dirt or leftover husks. Then, the cleaned grains move into huge steel roller mills, which gradually crush them into fine golden yellow granules. This is semolina. The dough, which still looks crumbly, is eventually fed into an extruder, a powerful machine that uses enormous pressure to force the dough through metal dies. For penne, the die is round with hollow centers, so as the dough gets pushed through, it comes out in long tube-like strips. Now that the penne pasta is dried, firm, and ready to go, it reaches the part of the factory where it will finally take its first dip in hot water. So here comes the huge deep pots filled with steaming hot water, with conveyor belts slowly moving the pasta through it. The pasta is cooked for just the right amount of time, usually between 2 minutes to 3 minutes. This is far shorter than what you do at home because factory pasta doesn't need to be fully soft. It just needs to be pre-cooked. And after that, a chilled bath to stop the cooking process. Now comes the moment when everything comes together. Penne and red sauce finally meet. The pasta needs to be portioned perfectly, the sauce must be hot and evenly distributed, and every tray has to look identical. The machine is designed to scoop out the exact amount of pasta needed for each meal tray. But how does it measure it so precisely? They use weight sensors to ensure each portion is identical. If the sauce were to land in just one spot, some parts of the pasta might stay dry while others get drenched. That's why they have this serene way of dispensing it. Oh, you just enjoyed that time of the year. Yeah, we're talking about Christmas here, and you must have had lots and lots of panettone. Am I right? This video is going to be all about our beloved panettone. Gathering ingredients for any product is the most important yet special process of all that literally starts months before production peaks, especially for the holiday season. I mean, in order to keep things smooth, factories must ensure a steady supply of the highest quality ingredients, often sourced from specialized producers worldwide. As soon as they bring in their gathered ingredients, the dough mixing begins. They use industrial-sized mixers that can handle hundreds of kilograms of dough at once. Despite the scale, timing is super crucial. The dough must rest for a specific duration, often between 12 to 20 hours, to allow the natural yeast to ferment and create that iconic light and airy texture. And those Italian panettone regulations require at least 4% egg yolk by weight, which contributes to its rich texture and color. About those ingredients, the sugar used in panettone is typically granulated cane sugar and a little blend of beet sugar. Raisins are a must-have for traditional panettone, and their sourcing is a story in itself. They often import raisins from countries like Turkey, the US, or South Africa, where the best varieties are grown. These raisins are delivered either sun-dried or mechanically dried, depending on the requirements. Some high-end panettone recipes call for golden raisins, which are sulfur-dried to retain their lighter color and fruity taste. You know, factories that produce seasonal products, just like panettone, don't wait for December to start. Preparations often begin as early as July or August. Bulk orders for key ingredients are placed months ahead to avoid shortages. Factories also ramp up staffing during this period, hiring seasonal workers and training them to handle the production surge. While I also heard some factories produce up to 50% of their yearly panettone output in the last quarter of the year, once the dough is ready, it's divided into individual portions using automated cutting and shaping machines. These machines are precise to the gram, ensuring uniformity in size and weight. The shaped dough is then placed into panettone molds, those iconic tall paper cases that give the bread its distinct cylindrical shape. The molds are made of grease-resistant paper and help the dough hold its form during proofing and baking. The enriched dough is portioned and placed into paper molds where it rests for another long proofing period. This allows the fruits and other additions to fully integrate into the dough as it rises. Panettone is baked in large ovens designed to accommodate hundreds of loaves at a time. These ovens must have rotating racks or conveyor systems to ensure even baking. The dome-shaped top of panettone is often hand-scored before baking to encourage even rising. After baking, panettone loaves are cooled with a unique technique, the upside-down method. This prevents the delicate airy structure from collapsing as it cools. They use special racks with hooks that hold the loaves in place during this process. Cooling takes several hours, and skipping this step could result in dense, deflated loaves. During the holiday season, factories often operate 24/7 with shifts running around the clock to meet demand. For those who prefer a less fruity panettone, chocolate-filled panettone is a popular alternative. They use some high-quality cocoa beans with a high cocoa butter content, which melts smoothly but doesn't completely dissolve into the dough for that added deliciousness. chocolate panettone has gained popularity in non-traditional markets like the US and Asia, appealing to those who prefer indulgent flavors over fruity ones. Once portioned, each dough piece is pre-shaped into a loose round. This step helps create surface tension, which ensures the dough rises evenly during proofing. This resting period allows the gluten structure, which gives panettone its elasticity and strength, to develop fully. For premium panettone, workers may handle the dough portions manually to preserve its delicate structure. Out in the apple orchards, it's harvest time. Wait, for those store-bought caramel apples? Dude, you gotta be kidding. Who buys that? Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there before you judge. Let's give them a chance to prove why we should buy from them this time. To take out those apples from the trees, they'll be using some mesmerizing techniques that's not something you'd casually see everywhere. So the process starts with a machine called a mechanical tree shaker, and it does exactly what the name suggests. It grips the tree trunk with a powerful clamp and gives it a rapid, controlled shake. In just a few seconds, hundreds of apples rain down like a fruit storm, hitting the ground with a soft thud, thud, thud. The trucks hauled them in large bins, stacked neatly to avoid unnecessary bruising. But as soon as they arrived at the factories, they were dunked in water. Now, as the apples roll onto a conveyor belt, they pass through a series of soft bristle rotating brushes. These aren't just for extra cleaning. They remove the natural wax that apples produce to protect themselves. That wax might be great for keeping moisture in while the apple is on the tree, but it's a big problem for caramel. Also, the apples go through a high-powered drying system. With only the best apples making it past sorting, they now head to the station where they get their signature wooden sticks. They pass through a machine that lines them up stem side up. If you've ever wondered why caramel apples always have the stick in the perfect center, this is why factories don't just push sticks in randomly. And what about the sticks themselves? They're usually made from birch or bamboo, chosen for their strength and smooth texture. Thick, velvety, and that perfect balance of deep buttery richness and just the right amount of chew. Yeah, that's our hero, the caramel sauce. The way it melts on your tongue while clinging to the crisp apple underneath, that's pure magic. If you've ever watched caramel apples being coated, you know just how mesmerizing this scene is. It's the kind of thing you could stare at for hours. Then, one by one, they descend into the warm, velvety caramel. The moment they make contact, the caramel ripples, clings, and slowly wraps itself around the apple like a thick, glossy blanket. The moment the apple rises from its caramel bath, they get coated with the nuts. Now they're about to be wrapped in a ball-shaped plastic packaging, which is hollow from inside. Because only the right packaging keeps them fresh, prevents stickiness, and makes them look as tempting as they taste. Every single apple gets wrapped in a clear plastic shell individually, perfectly shaped like an apple. And for little friends, they usually coat the apples with chocolate chips, Smarties, and treats like these, so the kids can also enjoy caramel apples, but with their favorite candies.